Welcome to this lesson. So we've come to the crux of our JavaScript basics module. So this would be the most important part of all the other topics we've been covering so far in JavaScript. In this lecture, we're going to be looking at DOM manipulation. DOM manipulation. So what's DOM? Basically means document object model. Alright, so it's the object model of your HTML document. In this lecture, we are going to be looking at manipulating the DOM by JavaScript. Alright, so when a web page is loaded, the browser creates a document object model, that is DOM, of the page. It's basically a tree that has a record of the hierarchy of a HTML page. Let me show an example. See, so this is a tree. It shows the hierarchy of a general HTML page. Usually HTML page has the root, that is the HTML, right at the top. Alright, and then the root has two different child nodes, which are head and body. So both are on the same par. If you can see here, you'll notice. See, there's head here, and then there's body here, all within the HTML root. Okay, and then the head element has the title and the meta tag, which are also siblings, as in they have the same level. And then you can also include the link tag if you want to. And then the body element has tags like paragraph, headings, and then header, div elements, a lot of other tags like that. So that's how it goes. So there's the HTML and then its children and then their children and so on and so forth. So that's what a document object model means. So with the JavaScript DOM features, you can manipulate the HTML and CSS elements of a web page in numerous ways. This is what makes a web page truly dynamic and interactive. So by using this particular model, you can traverse the web page and access the multiple elements. So go through HTML and access the body and then access the paragraph of that particular page, or access the heading and then manipulate it as you want. So that's what JavaScript DOM features does. Let me go back. So for example, you can change the HTML elements or attributes of a page. You can also change the CSS styles of a page, that is changing the color, the design, the background, so on and so forth. And then you can also add or remove elements or attributes. So for example, there is nothing in this page, but by using JavaScript, you can actually add a paragraph here or a div element here. You can add elements or remove elements, and then you can add attributes to that element and so on and so forth. You can also make the page react to events like click events, hover, double click, etc. That means when you click on an element, something has to happen. You can make this happen by using JavaScript DOM. So the DOM features can basically affect every single part of your page, and it can basically make it do anything you want. So naturally, covering all of these features and functions is beyond the scope of this course. So let's just focus on the topics we need, and that's more than enough. That's enough basics to get you going. So let's see how we can find the HTML elements from JavaScript by using IDs first. Then we can see how to change the text of that particular element. We can also look at how to create click events for a button. So these are the three JavaScript DOM topics we're going to be covering in this section. Alright, so let's get on with it. So first of all, getting an element. As I said before, every element of a HTML page can be changed by the JavaScript DOM. But in order to change an element, it needs to find it first. So it needs to traverse through this particular tree and find the element and then retrieve the element so it can change it. Otherwise, how is it going to change? So an easy way to do that is by using the ID of the particular element. Since IDs are unique to a page, as long as the ID of an element is known, it's easy to know which element it is referring to, because only one element can have a particular ID, since IDs can't be duplicated. So we are going to be using the getElementById function to do that. Let me go back to the script.js file. So getElementById. ID. So we're going to be using this particular function that is predefined within JavaScript to do that. So predefined functions are functions that were already created within the programming language. So I already covered functions before, and in there we create our own functions. Am I right? But with predefined function, they were already created, so you can just use them to do whatever they were meant to be used for. So by using our getElementById function, we can get the element with a particular ID. So let me show you the syntax of how to do the same. So first of all, document dot getElementById, and inside that the ID of your element, and then finally a semicolon. So here the document is the HTML document, and then inside that particular document we are getting the element with the ID that's specified within the parenthesis. So the element with the ID of this particular document. So this document would actually refer to the document that our script.js file is connected to. So here, let's see, our script.js file is connected to this particular index.html file. So it'll look at that particular document, traverse through it, find the element with the ID, and then retrieve it. Okay? So before we proceed, I want to give a simple caution. Remember that everything in JavaScript is case sensitive. So in here, getElementById, the E, B, and I should be capital letters. Otherwise, your function won't work right and you might get errors and you'll definitely not get your output. So always remember that in JavaScript, while using keywords or declaring variables, IDs, whatever it is, everything is case sensitive, so remember that. So let me show you an example so you can understand the concept better. So I'll first create a paragraph. So let's get this below here. And then here, let me create a paragraph with an ID of para1. Okay. So now we've created an empty paragraph, as in it has nothing in between, so it does not display anything. If you want, you can check to ensure that it doesn't display anything. So look at this, there's nothing displayed here, so it's an empty paragraph. So let's try to find this particular empty paragraph from within our JavaScript file. So to do that, document.getElementById, and inside the parenthesis we are going to mention our ID, which is para1. So great, now our JavaScript code has the element, so it can manipulate it and change it however it wants. So I told you that I'll also cover how to change the text of an element. So in order to do that, we need to use the InnerText property, InnerText property, where the T is capital, and assign the text we want to use in the element as a value for it. So here you can assign the text you want to use. So this is the property value pair that you can use to add text or whatever you want into an element. Okay, so this can be done in two ways. Either add the InnerText property right to the getElementById method like this. Let me show you. So I'll just take this out, and here, so we're getting the element and then we're changing the inner text of that particular element and assigning it a value of, let's say, hello, how are you? So let's look at the output. Let me save this first and then live preview. See, we're getting hello, how are you, where our paragraph is supposed to be. So this particular JavaScript code basically appended hello, how are you into our empty paragraph by using our DOM properties. This document traverses into the document and then gets the element with the ID paragraph and then changes the inner text, that is the text of that particular paragraph, to hello, how are you with a question mark. So that's how the empty paragraph has the text we entered. So this is one way of doing this. Another way is we can assign the element we retrieve to a variable first, and then we can use the inner text property with that variable. So this is how you do that. First of all, create a variable called para, and then we're assigning it with the element we are retrieving. So this particular para will have para 1 element. Alright, so and then go here, next line. So the para which has the P, the paragraph element, we're changing the inner text of that element to hello, how are you? So when you change the inner text of this para element, it will automatically change the inner text of this particular element with the ID para. Alright, so this particular variable can be anything. You can have it as paragraph, you can have it as para 1, para 2, whatever you want. So I've just given para because I want to. Now we've done that, let's look at the output. See, we're getting the same output now. So you can achieve the same thing with 2 methods. So that's it for retrieving an element with getElementById and then changing that element's text by using InnerText. So in our next lesson, let's look at how to create click events and how to manipulate buttons and everything. Alright, so I'll see you there. Bye bye.